So gunning games is here in full force, and with it comes 2 new weapons and 1 returning weapon, which are actually very good. Today we're going to go over each one, and I'll explain why they're good in the context of PvE, along with some perk combinations for you to keep an eye out for. Before we continue though, the origin trait gives class ability energy on final blows. Pretty simple, nothing revolutionary, but nice to have. The first weapon to keep an eye out for, and one of the new ones, is Triple Laureate. This is a spread shot hand cannon and our 4th one so far. These types of weapons deal pretty good damage considering they are primary weapons, but the downside is that you need to be up close and personal, which isn't always the best idea. Thankfully, one of the 4th column perks is Chaos Reshaped, a perk that can boost our damage and heal us periodically. This perk can stack up to 2 times based on how long we're in combat for, and for reference, at max stacks, we deal 35% extra damage, which is more than Baited Switch, which is at 30%. This is definitely the best perk for column 4, and you should pair it with Crystalline Quartz Bloom in the 3rd column, which generates a stasis crystal on rapid final blows. There aren't really any other perks to pair with Chaos Reshaped, so this is definitely the best choice. An alternative perk combination for melee focused builds is Grave Robber and 1-2 Punch. Though if I'm being honest, you're better off using an actual shotgun since 1-2 Punch on spread shot hand cannons is weaker. Now stats typically aren't nearly as important in PvE as they are in PvP, but since there's so few weapons of this type, and due to the nature of spread shots and how range and reload speed is somewhat important, I think it would be beneficial to see how this falls in line with other spread shot hand cannons. So looking at this comparison, we can see that Triple Laureate is the 2nd worst in terms of stats. The Sarpedon D is the worst of them all. This might sound and look bad, but in most areas the difference is minuscule. The biggest difference is the stability, but on this weapon, stability is not important. Triple Laureate also actually has better or equal reload speed, and that stat is important because spread shots are very slow to reload. All in all, this is a primary weapon at the end of the day. While I do think you should try your best to get some rolls on this weapon, it's not going to be the end of the world if you don't. We're now going to move on to the 2nd new weapon, which is the Beacon. This is a rapid-fire solar fusion rifle, and it has some very nice perks for damage. In a way, this is a solar version of the Lionfish, which is really the only other rapid-fire that also comes with perks suitable for damage. In column 3, you're going to want to pick up Rewind because when you use this weapon, you're likely not doing any sort of proper damage rotation because fusion rifles aren't really appropriate for them, so Envious Arsenal doesn't make any sense. You're going to be dumping all your ammo in one go, so Rewind is the best choice. The reason I'm not advocating for Overflow is simply because you're only going to activate that once in a damage phase, which is at the start. Yes, you can pair it with Reservoir Burst in column 4, but that only works for the overflowed portion of the magazine, and it's less damage than Bait and Switch, which is what you want to pair alongside Rewind. If you're wanting this for general play, then Overflow and Reservoir is a good combo, just not for a damage phase. In a world of rocket pulses though, this again isn't a huge must-have, but I still think it's worth going for, as like I previously said, Lionfish is the only other competitor, and that's in the kinetic slot, while the Beacon is in the energy slot. The sandbox is always prone to change, so it could be that in the future, fusion rifles are better than rocket pulses. Just right now, they're not. Finally, we have our returning weapon, Keraunios. The current state of trace rifles are that they're more of a mechanic-based weapon or weapon you use during mechanics in a raid or dungeon, and then swap from to a rocket pulse or sniper, etc. So we're going to talk about it in the context of raid and dungeon content. With that in mind, there are 2 very important things that we should be looking for: alternative reload options and shoot to loot, and damage perks that work without requiring a kill, as to conserve ammo. Keraunios has all of that covered, better than any other trace rifle. Even the Sundered Doctrine trace rifle, which was the first to have detonating beam. In column 3, you're likely going to want to go for supercharged magazine if you're on arc, with easy access to amplified, because when you are amplified, your weapon will reload over time. The other option is rewind and shoot to loot. A lot of people value shoot to loot mostly, but in most areas of the game, rewind will be fine. In column 4, you have a mix of options. You've got jolting feedback to apply jolt after so many hits, but my personal favourite is detonating beam, which creates an explosion matching the element of the gun, which is arc, after sustained damage. Jolting feedback will likely be the best choice here though, even if I do prefer detonating beam. The reason for that is if you're doing mechanics, you're likely not going to be responsible for taking down the stronger enemies, and if you are, you're not going to be using a trace rifle. Jolting feedback will be better in that instance because it works off total hits across multiple enemies and not sustained damage on a single enemy. Target lock is an option in the 4th column, but I do not recommend it, as like with detonating beam, you have to keep your beam on a single target to get that damage boost. If, like with the beacon, you just want a Keraunios for general play, then a lot of the combinations I said also work very well for that. Another good combination would be Trickle Charge and Rolling Storm. So kills will grant bulk charge, and then hits will progress that bulk charge, and every time you gain bulk charge or discharge it, you'll reload your weapon. Alternatively, Shoot to Loot and Chain Reaction, so anytime an enemy drops ammo, you'll collect it with the Chain Reaction explosion. So those are the Guardian game weapons available this year. If you have the time, they're all worth going for in their own way, but it won't be the end of the world if you miss out on any of the weapons. Feel free to drop your favourite perk combinations in the comments. As always, thank you for watching, have a great day.